Hello, I'm meteorologist Peter Chan, and welcome to this springtime edition of Alaska Weather and Water Facts. Flood Preparedness Week for Alaska is in April. It's important to understand what river breakup is, the flooding that it can bring, and how it impacts communities across the state. I sat down with hydrologist Crane Johnson from the Alaska Pacific River Forecast Center to talk about River Watch, an aerial survey program that monitors river ice breakup while providing critical information to the affected communities. Please join us in our conversation.
Our mission is to protect life and property, but part of that along the way is just to provide information. People are concerned about flooding as well as subsistence use when they can travel on the river with ice and when they can travel on the river when it's open. So that's one of the biggest things we do is provide information, but when it comes to the mission, it's protect life and property, primarily from ice jams and ice jam flooding. It can be catastrophic for the community. A lot of the rural Alaska villages located along our rivers, it's sort of flat floodplain, and when they flood, it can be the entire community that floods. For us, what it means is we want to have the best information and try to help them understand how high the floodwaters could get, how long we can expect the floodwaters to remain so that they can plan, during that disaster. The other thing it means for us is that we're concerned. It was an ice jam that formed, and so we're starting to look downstream and upstream in some cases for large ice jams of who else could be flooded from either that same ice jam or if it releases and then reforms downstream. And so for us, we're engaged. We want to provide the best real-time information we can for the community that's flooding and understand that it can be devastating where the entire community is impacted, and just try to work with them and our state partners to sort of meet their needs for information concerning the flood, and then be looking ahead, leaning forward on who else could be affected from breakup that year. The most threatening is definitely dynamic breakup or mechanical breakups. That's where we'll see ice jams form and release as the river breaks up from upstream to downstream. So on those years, we'll see multiple ice jams, and so the threat continues throughout the entire breakup process. I think one of the most challenging things is that it's different each year. There's no formula for how it's going to play out. We've learned over the years and from working with local leaders that we really need to listen to the river and monitor it as we see during the season. And we found over the years, really, the tool that we use is Riverwatch. It's a monitoring program because we can't forecast exactly where ice jams will occur and how severe they'll be. We've got to sort of plan and adapt to how the river behaves each year. Some years it'll break up from the downstream end first. Other years it'll break up upstream to downstream. We often plan and try to schedule river watch ahead of time, but what we find is that you really need to listen to the river and be out there, when the river lets us know. And that's something we hear regularly from locals is we're sort of on the river schedule for river watch. Each day, once we're deployed, once we've got teams in the field, a typical day will be get up, attend a few telecommunication or a few teleconference briefs early on, and then the team will sort of make a plan for the day. And the plans change. It really what happened yesterday drives where they fly and what they look at the next day. And then typically they'll fly anywhere from 4 to 7 hours per day, land in a few communities, do some on-the-ground briefs. We'll often try to get a native elder or a community leader to come up in the plane for a look at the local conditions within their community. And that helps us. They've got local names, and so it's helpful to learn the local names and be able to use that when we brief out. And then towards the end of the day, we'll usually be back into Fairbanks or Bethel or where we're based out of around 4 or 5. And then we try to follow up with an evening email brief back to the communities to let everybody know what we saw and where the breakup front is for that day. In addition, we're sort of calling back to the River Forecast Center in Anchorage, and they're updating the graphical web products so that others can see that information as well. I think in the past, during Riverwatch, often we would use sort of in-person contact. And then one thing that was used throughout Alaska was VHF or marine radio, where we would actually call down from the plane to the communities on the ground and give them a real-time river report. In addition to that, we've had the standard Weather Service products that go out on the internet and other methods to disseminate Weather Service products. But I think in local communities where they didn't have good telecommunications, there were no cell phones, the VHF radio during Riverwatch was one of the primary methods we communicated directly to communities. One thing that's changed over time that we've seen, even in my career, are cell phones in rural Alaska. And so while we still use the VHF radio, I think the number of listeners has decreased over time. In person is still important. We land at communities and we'll brief on local conditions upriver and downriver to provide sort of that direct information for their decision support. But we found that cell phones now exist in most communities. And so in addition to direct communication, we'll text. They'll text us observations, and then we can do teleconferences where people can call in either daily or weekly to get briefs for their local river conditions. I think the first thing we do is we reach out and then we listen. One of the most valuable things we do within our operations is pick up the telephone. That's still how we connect with sort of local elders, local leaders, whether they're with the city or the tribe. We'll call up and we'll just ask, what are conditions like? What's the river look like? Do you have any concerns? Have you seen this before? Is this different? Does this concern you? And so those kind of questions, and then just to listen to hear how they describe the river in their area is really important for us. We're here in Anchorage. We're often, behind computers with models, whether they're forecast models or satellite imagery, and trying to interpret all that and put it into the breakup picture where they usually come from a spot where they've lived their entire life adjacent to the river, and they understand it. Just recently, we had a local elder from the lower Yukon sort of describe how this year's different than previous years. They expect, things to be different, and that's really valuable for us as forecasters, putting out sort of statewide breakup products. We always rely heavily on observations from local communities. I think cell phones have increased that. They've allowed folks to just take a picture and text us. But throughout the Weather Service's role up here in Alaska, we've always relied heavily on local communities to provide observations. Yeah, and I think Riverwatch is unique in that we have a lot of partners that we both feed information to, look at as our customers, and then part of the the Riverwatch team. One of the closest partners is the state of Alaska. It's been a long-standing partnership over the last 30 or 40 years where we, actually coordinate ahead of time for preparedness, and then we are in the plane together on Riverwatch monitoring rivers. And so that's a really close partnership. That's great to see. It's a state and federal partnership that just we function as a team, which is unique. The local communities are part of that close partnership, and examples would be the community of Amonic, whether it's the city or the tribe. Usually each small community in Alaska has two entities, both the tribe and the city, and we try to reach out to both and include them in sort of the partnership through teleconferences and just direct phone calls on the Riverwatch team. We work pretty closely with the Yukon Territory government. They provide breakup forecasting upstream of Alaska on the Yukon River and the Porcupine River. And so we coordinate before breakup and then during breakup on what they see on their side of the border. We work with universities. There's the University of Alaska Fairbanks that has a research project focused on river ice, both freeze up and break up. And so that's a great source for information that helps us. Outside of that, we have the National Water Center that's part of the Weather Service, and they provide satellite support services in terms of river ice monitoring throughout the state. And we've got other research collaborations that come and go throughout the years where universities work to improve our usually satellite monitoring or other forecasting tools we use. And so it is a large group that helps support the entire operation. Each year, the ones we always fly are the Kuskokwim River, which is a river down in southwest Alaska. That one has quite a few communities that are close to each other. It's unique in that it is like a river community. The other river we fly each year is the Yukon River, and that's over 1,200 miles long from upriver at the border to the mouth of the Yukon. And so those two rivers we fly each year. We also try to fly the Koyukuk River, which has communities that can be threatened by ice jam flooding. And then one community that's off on its own is the Buckland, that's on the Buckland River in northwest Alaska. And some years we'll fly up and do a river watch flight for the Buckland River as well. I try to get out to one or two rural communities in Alaska. It reminds you what life's like in these communities, how important the rivers are. And at the end of the day, I think when we connect and we provide information that they find useful, that's the best part of the job.
That's it.
Thank you for watching this edition of Alaska Weather and Water Facts. In part 2, we'll take a closer look at how Riverwatch operates in the field and how forecasters work with communities during breakup. As always, be prepared and stay safe.